There's a formula to it. A very simple formula.
Hello everyone and welcome to Bite Size Analysis. Today is the quicker, scarier, and more stereotypical Friday the 13th movie, Friday the 13th Part 2. This movie features our first ever real Jason, but not the cool one, the bag over the head one. We have to wait till Part 3 to get his mask, because this series likes to make you wait for the good parts. This movie pretty much keeps the beats of the previous films, but with Jason instead of Pamela Voorhees. This movie is definitely better than the first. Well, with that, let's get biting. Part 2 begins with a kid playing in a puddle somewhere completely different than the first film. The little boy steps out of the way as our first seconds of the grown-up Jason steps onto the screen. He's walking towards a house door before we are cut to our old pal Alice suffering from some PTSD related to the events of the previous film. We get quite a few minutes of old footage. This is something to get used to, trust me on this one. Alice gets a phone call but no one is on the other end. Maybe it's coming from inside the house. Alice goes to look in her fridge to get some food for her jump scare kitty. Inside the fridge is Mrs. Voorhees' decapitated head. I wouldn't advise feeding that to your cat, Alice. Our first final girl is sadly stabbed through the head and killed. Another fun fact that's not so fun, the actress who played Alice did not know that her role in this film was going to be so little. She says if she knew, she wouldn't have come back for this film. I am glad, however, that we got to see Alice one more time before the series progressed. Jason, being the gentleman he is, he takes the tea off the burner when it starts whistling. The title card rushes up to the screen and breaks the glass. Wait, shit, never mind, it explodes. We meet a couple that is driving up to the gas station that Anna was dropped off at originally. They're going for training to be camp counselors. They go to call for directions and get interrupted by Crazy Ralph.
You're all doomed. You're all doomed.
Okay, maybe this dude actually is just crazy. Their truck gets towed and we meet one of our characters who jokingly towed the truck. We then get a scene incredibly similar to the truck scene from the first movie but with less banjo. There's a log in the road, so our characters move it out of the way. One of them goes off into the woods, for plot purposes I guess, and finds an old wooden sign with Camp Crystal Lake written on it. We get a shot of Jason removing some branches that directly takes itself from a shot in the original where Pamela does the same thing. We meet our camp trainer Paul Holt as he gathers everyone for a meeting, including Mark and Vicky, some of our characters of note alongside the random people that are here. And then we meet Terry and everyone's favorite dog Muffin, and then there's Scott. As a more on the nose version of telling the audience no one else matters, Paul says this.
Okay, the rest of you, I'm sure I'll get to know soon enough.
I mean, good attitude, man, but no, these people don't matter. We then meet the final girl of this movie, Ginny. Her car doesn't start before Paul comes over to help.
You gotta treat them gentle. Just like kids. Use a little of that child psychology you're majoring in.
Plot point. We cut to some good old-fashioned catching up everyone on the plot you're trying to push. This is also potentially one of the most iconic scenes of this entire movie. Also, we are expected to think that this turned into, spoiler alert, in just 5 years. Puberty really hit Jason fast. We then get some doggy dancing and then I guess some regular dancing. Crazy Ralph ends up at the camp watching Paul and Ginny make out before his neck is caught by wire, bringing us the first kill of the movie post-title screen. I wish they didn't kill him so early on in these movies. I would have absolutely loved it if he was in every movie in one way or the other, but that will stay in my imagination, I guess. We get some more first-person Jason before Muffin runs straight into him, and the worst cut I could possibly imagine, they cut straight to hot dogs on the grill. So I'm assuming we are supposed to think Muffin is dead. The couple from the beginning of the film go out and try to go into Camp Crystal Lake. They make their way in there before a cop catches them and reports them to Paul Holt. The cop leaves and we catch a glimpse of Baghead Jason. He goes into the woods after him and runs for a considerable amount of time. Into what appears to be the center of these woods, and he ends up finding a shack made of random pieces of buildings. He walks in and searches the building before he gets the backside of a hammer into the back of his head. Some of the group decides to go to town. This, coincidentally, leaves us with our friendly named characters that definitely aren't body bags already. Shadow Jason. Terry goes skinny dipping before Scott steals her clothes. He ends up caught in a snare. Terry goes to get something to cut Scott down with before Scott gets his neck slit by Jason. I'm just saying, I feel like this would be a lot more bloody if this was real life, you know, considering how he's upside down, he got his neck slit. Terry comes back to cut Scott down before finding his dead body. She runs away from the body still hanging, and she runs at the camera and gets stabbed off screen. There's a long overdue plot speech given by our main character Ginny before we cut back to our lovely, well-developed characters at the cabin. Matt goes outside to look for his love interest before he suddenly gets an axe in the back of his head and rolls down a flight of stairs. We immediately cut to the other couple going at it before Jason goes upstairs and stabs them both right through the bed. How quickly both these kills happened legitimately feels like they forgot the whole point of this movie and just needed to get these deaths out of the way as quickly as possible. Paul and Ginny are on their way back to the cabins when we see Vicky trying to go upstairs to look for Matt. We get the first ever actual scary Baghead Jason scene before Vicky is stabbed. Paul and Ginny arrive at the camp and notice stuff like the lights on in the cabin or a lot of blood in the sheets. Holy that's a lot of blood. They go downstairs and begin our final girl runaround of this film. Paul and Jason get into a fight before Jason starts to chase after Ginny. Ginny finds Crazy Ralph's body before she jumps out the window and runs towards the car they came in. We get Jason playing peekaboo before trying to fish through the car hood. Using your hands is cheating, Jason, come on. We get even more running. Woo! We get some hide and seek and then more running, but this time in the woods. Yeah, jump scare! More woods and even more hide and seek. Ginny cuts Jason with a chainsaw before we get even more woods. Ginny runs around and finds the shack from earlier, but this time she finds the shrine to Pamela that Jason had created from her decapitated head. This is when Ginny uses that child psychology she was learning. Plot point resolution. She almost tricks Jason into stepping completely in his tracks, but at the last moment before Jason can be killed, he blocks the machete. Paul, who isn't dead, shows up and wrestles Jason once more. Ginny kills Jason with a machete through the shoulder. It ends with Paul and Ginny in a cabin waiting after Ginny got her leg injured. They hear something at the door, but when Paul goes to open it, aw, it's Muffin, everyone's favorite puppy. The movie is finally over, but nope. Scary bagless-headed Jason bursts through the window attacking Ginny. We see a long zoom in on Pamela Voorhees' head before the movie ends. And with that, a bite has been taken out of Friday the 13th, Part 2. I really enjoyed this movie, more than the first one for sure. It feels almost exactly like the same movie as the first, but slightly quicker and with less bulkiness in the script. This movie feels like it deserves its 86-minute runtime while the original feels pushed to its limit. This movie, contrary to the original, feels like the kills are somehow less important than the story they are trying to build with these characters we don't really care about. Well, this movie is definitely not bad by any means. What they could have done with Jason in this movie makes me feel a little sad. But in all accounts, this movie is way better than the original and holds this franchise to a different level. Thank you all very much for watching. I have had a lot of fun making these and will continue to make more. Go follow my Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at @slashithhorror and make sure to subscribe and like the video. Thank you all very much for watching and remember, treat every day like it's Halloween.